everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Laura Smith and I apologize for my appearance. You've caught me on the road, which still seems like a funny thing to say after, 2 years lockdown in the UK. Obviously we had 3 different lockdowns in the UK, but it's been very difficult to get back on the road. This is my first opportunity, so I'm delighted to be back in the US and delighted to be back in Boston, Massachusetts. This is where I am doing research at the Massachusetts Historical Society for my DPhil at the University of Oxford. As you can see, I'm wearing my school university colors loud and proud today. Be true to your school, as the Beach Boys say. But honestly, I'm just wearing it because it's the lightest thing that I brought with me. It's very hot today, and I know that sounds crazy considering that parts of the country are obviously right now a lot hotter than Massachusetts, but coming from the UK, it's certainly feeling that continental weather, so definitely wanted something breathable. So this channel is really going to be about travel, it's going to be about research, it's going to be about, I could talk about style if you're interested in any of that. Really, it's going to be guided by anything that you are interested in. It's going to be a vlog about all the things that I experience being a University of Oxford DPhil, and just going through my life as an early career scholar. Being a female historian. I'm a historian of the US historian. I'm also a political historian. Really, I'm a presidential historian. And there are not many of those. There's certainly not many female presidential historians either. So I'm really passionate about what I do, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my journey with you. Just as a way of introduction, this is my second doctorate. I got my first doctorate at the University of Mississippi. I graduated there in 2019, so I spent 4 years living in Mississippi. And it was a really great opportunity. I'm really grateful to have had that real cultural experience. It was really challenging at times, but I do really sort of treasure my time there and what I got out of it. I'm just passionate about American history, and I'm happy to talk about my experiences. Obviously, comparing the UK versus the US doctorate system, which are very different. Some of you guys may be aware that on average, it takes about 7 years to get a doctorate in the US. Part of the reason I did it in 4, because obviously you have classes, comprehensive exam, and then you do your doctorate. So I researched and wrote it in 1.5 years, and that was partly due to my visa, being non-American, being half British, half Canadian. I was really under pressure. And so 2019, after I graduated, I returned to the UK. It's where my parents are, and it took me a few months to get some employment. I was shortlisted and interviewed for a couple of positions at UK universities teaching American history and American politics. Unfortunately, I didn't get those because there were other candidates who were more experienced, and so it's great to get in the door and be considered, and you learn something each time. So those were helpful experiences, and I was able to say, okay, got to work on my CV. Excellent. Let's do this. So March 2020, which I know is seared to everyone's mind in some way or another, probably mostly negative, but to put a positive spin on it, I was working at Canterbury Christ Church University, their American Studies program, and loving that. And I also got accepted at the University of Oxford to do a doctorate. So this would be second doctorate, also US history. My first doctorate was in antebellum 19th century, specifically Andrew Jackson's re-election of 1832. And I now work on something completely different. I work on the 20th century foreign policy, specifically William Howard Taft, who is the president in between TR and Woodrow Wilson, 1909 to 1913, and his foreign policy toward the Western Hemisphere. So I've just been spending time on the Massachusetts Historical Society, digging through papers, and I'm going to share some of that experience in this vlog. I'm going to talk about that research, and I'm really excited to share that with you, and I'm really welcome your engagement, welcome your questions, anything that I can help you with if you're considering applications to higher education at whatever level, the UK, the US. I'm more than happy to help in any way I can, I really look forward to sharing this experience with you. A lot of people, just to sort of preempt, because a lot of people, when I tell them, I don't it could be a bit awkward sometimes when you're introducing yourself. And I'm a neurodiverse person anyway. I have learning difficulties, as they used to be called. I'm dyspraxic, I'm dyscalculic. So sometimes, I could be a little awkward. And so when I'm introducing myself, I don't go around saying, oh, I'm Laura, I'm doing a second doctorate. I don't want to be like that. God, no. And what I really, really, really want to emphasize in this is that I'm not special, okay? Anyone could do what I'm doing. Anyone can successfully apply, and a lot of it has to do with luck to be able to get in, especially with so many applicants, so many good qualified applicants right now for graduate programs. A lot of it has to do with luck. Keep trying, just put yourself out there. I'm really not special. This is not a narcissistic blog of, I'm some sort of big shot. No, not at all. And I really, really want to emphasize that. So when I introduce myself and people find out later on in the conversation that I'm doing a second doctorate, I'll have sort of two reactions. Either it will be a sort of wow, and I have to explain again that it's not special, really doesn't deserve a wow. Or I get a reaction that is, a why, which is a totally legitimate question, and happy to answer that. So basically, the short version is that while I was finishing up my first doctorate, which was very much looking at presidential power, I became really interested in this idea and wanted to follow it through looking at it from a different perspective, a different lens. Obviously, I've been working on domestic policy with an election. So I started thinking about this idea of presidential power, and when I graduated, I knew that I needed support from, just like anyone, I needed support from an institution in terms of being able to pursue new research, to get feedback on that research, and everything that working in a higher institution could give you. I want to go to academia. That's the dream. And so I knew that I needed that. And so I applied to Oxford to do a second doctorate after having applied to a bunch of postdoc fellowships, which are really incredibly competitive. And I wasn't obviously successful in those, even though I was shortlisted for some. And so I thought, maybe the best way to do this is to get that second degree, be able to add it to my CV and continue teaching, which is something I really enjoy doing, and is something that I find really helpful to my research, to be able to actually share what I'm doing in the archives with my students and see what their reaction is, and that could really guide what is needed to be emphasized and what could be helpful to students today. So I really enjoy that, and I love when they share their research with me too. So I'm also an adjunct assistant professor at Richmond, the American University in London, and I really enjoy teaching there. Again, I teach American history, American politics, and that is a great experience. It's great to be in the classroom and enjoy that, and I teach at Oxford as well, the same, American history, American politics, a bit of IR in the Cold War era, which was one of my minors at the University of Mississippi. Any questions about comprehensive exams, happy to answer. We don't have them in the UK. It's literally just doctoral focused, just writing your thesis. That's pretty much my introduction, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my experiences with you. Just to give you some heads up on where I am right now. So, like I said, I'm in Boston. I've lived a quarter of my life in the US. My first school was in Massachusetts, so Red Sox Nation, love it. And I think for anyone doing research, you want to make sure that you're in a comfortable environment, because you're going to be really tired by the end of the day. It's really hard work on the eyes, whether you're working with documents, whether you're working online. You want to make sure that you take care of yourself, especially if you're female and traveling alone. I hate saying that, but also, I think it's just good safety precautions. I know a lot of male friends who feel comfortable doing Airbnb, feel comfortable, staying in places that maybe I wouldn't feel comfortable with. So I want to absolutely make sure that I'm comfortable and safe and I'm getting a good night's rest to take care of myself. You know, mental health is really important too. So it's good to be able to have somewhere where you have access to a gym or a pool or some exercise, because it is really heavy sitting work, which sounds ridiculous, but 7 hours, you know, stretching your eyes to the limit can be really harsh. So I also highly recommend, if you're on a budget, which I absolutely am, to be able to have access to, I mean, I've never really had a mini kitchenette. I don't really need that, but literally all I need, and I'll show you right now, is just, you know, like some sort of water, like tap water's fine. But also the amenity of a microwave. This is absolutely vital. I find anyway, and a fridge as well. This is way too much cupboard space than I would ever need. But when you're living on leftovers, let's face it, the microwave and the fridge are pretty vital. But one of the other things that I'm so excited to be back in the US about, and this is probably going to sound ridiculous, but I'm picking up, you know, some food to go back to the UK. There are a lot of American candy stores that are popping up in the UK after Brexit, because it used to be we had to abide by the sugar laws. We don't have to do that anymore. So whatever, the problem is we could get Fruit Loops now, but we can't get Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I love it. So I was so happy to pick up Cinnamon Toast Crunch so that I can have an easy meal back at Oxford and not worry about it. So I was very happy about that. But yeah, I suppose that I may be sharing too much there. But being able to pick up and have these snacks, let's face it, it's a student necessity, and it's an early career scholar necessity, to be honest with you. And I'm a bit of both. So that's it. But I'm also really grateful. I'd like to add to the sponsorship that I have, the support that I've received from the University of Oxford that's enabled me to come here to do my research, which is absolutely vital to my project. So that comes from the Rothermere American Institute, that comes from my college, St. Anne's College at Oxford, that comes from St. Hugh's College in Oxford as well, and obviously, of course, the faculty, the Department of History in Oxford too. I'm really grateful for those grants that culminated together to make this research possible. And you'll find as a doctoral student, and I'm happy to talk about this as well, you know, funding is absolutely vital. I am self-funded. I could never have come to the US to do a degree if I hadn't been funded on a teaching scholarship that gave me a small stipend and meant I didn't have to pay tuition. In the UK, I am self-funded, which you know, does put pressure on me, which I would want to work anyway, but it does put pressure on me to have employment as well, to be able to support myself, you know, hence the cereal boxes. So you know, getting support where you can is really important. So with that, I look forward to showing you around the Massachusetts Historical Society. All right, let's go. So this is the street where the Massachusetts Historical Society is located. It's really beautiful, especially on a sunny day. I was so lucky with the weather. I only had one rainy day, and that was when I was walking back, so that was great. The walk was about 25 minutes with my walking speed, so that was really nice to get some exercise. I didn't really feel like I could film, unfortunately, more on the way there, because some areas were a little bit less safer than others, but the street where it was actually on, absolutely beautiful, and you could see what a stunning historical building it is. Let's go inside. Every morning I'd check in and be given my researcher badge, and I would put my stuff in the lockers in the break room here, which is a really beautiful room. And there you'd be able to take a break whenever you needed. You need to stretch your legs, you needed a snack, you needed a drink of water. You'd be able to do that in this beautiful room, which is also really thought-provoking, as you could see. And then after that, I'd head my way in. The papers I wanted to examine were all ready for me, as I'd filled in a spot online in the manuscript room beforehand. And this is the hallway to the manuscript room here. There were quite a lot of COVID protocols in place to keep everyone safe, so there was social distancing and everyone was wearing masks, which is a bit difficult with glasses, but definitely manageable. And here's the beautiful room. Even if history is not your favorite subject, I thought and hope you might get a kick out of seeing the papers that I had the absolute privilege to examine. These were actually letters from President Taft, and you could see that they were stamped with the White House letterhead and that they had his signature, and being able to actually see them in person and handle them was such a privilege. It was also really cool to see a statuette made of him, and it was very much a good likeness. And this beautiful room was such an inspirational place to study these papers. I also found a letter signed George Washington from a man describing himself as colored of an Indian type asking for a job. In the same folder, I found a letter with the letterhead of the Tuskegee Institute, signed Booker T. Washington even, thanking the Secretary of the Navy for his gift. Interestingly, President Taft and his administration has previously been portrayed as more conservative when it comes to race of this era, and yet this would seem to put them in line with racial Republican policies of the time. And this is one of the insightful and exciting discoveries I was able to consider on some of my walks when the archives was closed. My last day in Boston before I flew out and the archives were closed, I visited Faneuil Hall and Quincy Market, one of my favorite places in the city. And I went to the museum store. I was so pleased to see it had survived the pandemic. And I got a postcard, and I also got a magnet for my dad for Christmas, which I know will make him laugh. It was so great to be back and to see the carts and everyone having a good time. I also went to one of the gift shops to do some more Christmas shopping. They had so many good gift ideas and so many New England themed things I absolutely loved. I found this sign, which I really felt strongly about. I love that. I found some maple and cranberry chutney for my dad. He loves chutney. I found, this is actually to go with tea, but they have one that go with ice cream, maple syrup, specially paired. So I ended up getting the ice cream one for my grandma, and I really hope she'll enjoy that for Christmas. I also found a shirt and these amazing lip balms called Bitch Sticks. The money goes towards survivors of domestic abuse and sexual assault. I highly recommend. I also found first time in store 4 ocean bracelets, with every purchase supporting getting 1 pound of plastic out of the ocean. The product itself actually made of plastic taken from the ocean. Then it was time to make a last-minute stop to some of my favorite food places, including Insomnia Cookies, a staple for university towns. And then one last meal at Blaze Pizza. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you on the next vlog.